Now we all know over the years Hypixel Skyblock has had its fair amount of issues. From massive dupes seeing this innocent fellow being wiped off the face of the earth, to players being wiped for simply playing dungeons, or even updates that have been promised for literally years and years. Some problems have been fixed, and others haven't. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the outline issues in Skyblock that just need to be fixed, and I'm sure most people can agree on these things. And before you say, Nitrols, why are you complaining? You know, at the end of the day, Hypixel Skyblock is still a great game, just shut up. Number one, I take what you're saying on board. And so that I would say, well, you know I'm from this country called England, and we're kind of notorious for moaning and complaining, so let me be. First of all, I'll start with a fundamental issue with the garden and farming in general, and it's to do with this crop right here. I'm sure you know that this is netherwort. Now you will quite easily find netherworts included in Jacob's farming contests. And also, it's a farm that can be built on the garden. For those of you who don't know, the garden is a farming island. Farming is where you farm things. But for some reason, if you grab your farming hoe, your netherwort hoe, which is obviously a farming specific hoe, everything on the hoe grants you farming fortune and all that good stuff. You're on the farming island on a farming update with your farming gear on, which I don't have on at the moment, that would affect how much you farm in terms of netherworts. Yeah, if you farm netherworts, you gain alchemy XP. Yes, netherworts is used for alchemy. So is sugarcane. Yes, without netherworts, you can't really brew a potion. But you farm netherworts. You farm netherworts. Fair enough, you brew a potion, you get alchemy XP. That makes sense. But you farm netherworts, and you should get farming XP. It's a joke. And that's why if we look on the bazaar, Turbo Cacti 1, let's call it between 4 and 500k. Turbo Cane 1 between 50k, we'll call it 60k. Turbo Carrot 130, we'll go somewhere in between. Turbo Cocoa, we've got, I don't know, we'll call it 280, it's still quite high. Turbo Melon over 300k. Turbo Warts, if you sell your Turbo Warts instantly, your Turbo Warts 1 book that you will get from Jacob's farming contest, you'll get 8k. And the utter reason for it is who wants to farm netherworts when you don't even get farming XP? Like, who wants to farm something? Like, what's the point? It makes just as much sense as mining cobblestone with a pickaxe and gaining foraging XP. It just doesn't make sense. Anyway, if you do find watching one of my videos again and you aren't subscribed, you should consider doing so. Become part of the 23%. There's nothing to lose other than gain with this greatness. Now, I wanted to talk about the bazaar. On face value, the bazaar might not seem broken, and for the most part, it's not. Now, I've got to say, the addition of the hex is amazing. To be honest, it's a feature that I think should have been in the game all along. It's pretty much essential, and most people can't live without the hex now. It's hard to imagine it without the hex. Newer players might have thought this was always in the game. For those of you who don't know, you can either go into the hex, or if you've got a booster cookie, you can slash hex, put an item in there, and essentially access all the upgrades that you could buy from the bazaar to put on your weapon. It makes it a lot easier, it's very convenient, and it just is a good addition. But in order for the hex to be introduced, they needed to move a lot of items over from the auction house to the bazaar, which is fine. Back in the day, I used to scour the auction house, flipping like wisdom and ultimate wise books, and for a long period of time, they were probably my best money making method. Like, the amount of money you could make just simply from flipping ultimate books was insane. It was crazy. So not only was one of my best money making methods ruined, there's still to this day a few problems and signs of what happened there on the bazaar that don't really work properly. Now, for instance, for items like power stones and reforged stones and so on, the majority of the items, it works fairly well, and just like the other items that already were on the bazaar. But for instance, this reforged stone here, amber material, buy price 3 million, sell price 1 million. That isn't right. I mean, it is technically right, but when you come across items that have relatively low supply, it just doesn't work. Take a look at the bulky stone, okay? Put buy order in, just over 3 mil. Sell off at 19 mil. Just doesn't make sense. The refined amber reforged stone. Buy order is 5 coins, and sell offer is 1.2 mil. Tell me how that's right. It isn't right. And to be honest, the problem just gets worse when it gets to pretty high tier ultimate enchantments. For instance, if we take an enchantment like Bob in Time, okay, Bob in Time 3 is a bit of a push, but with it being an item with relatively low supply, this makes sense. we go to Bobbin Time 4. This is just pretty far-fetched. The sell offer is 12 mil, and buy offer is 48.5. Bobbin Time 5, sell offer 10 mil, buy price 96. It just doesn't work. The issue is if you actually want to buy this item, you either straight up buy one for 96 mil, or put a buy order up for 10 mil, which realistically is never going to fill. Unless somebody accidentally sells this book to the bazaar straight away, then this isn't going to fill. And I know probably there aren't many people that are even in the market for this enchantment, but if there are, it's going to be very difficult to actually get one. And that's the issue. We see it again here. Fatal Tempo 1. Buy price 145 mil, sell price 132 mil. For an item of that stature and that price, that's about right. Fatal Tempo 2, I don't even need to say, but it just doesn't make sense. Honestly, I don't know what is best, because, I mean, like I've shown, for certain items, the bazaar just doesn't work. Like an auction place like the bazaar just isn't the right fit for it. But of course, then, if you start making exceptions, then it just doesn't make sense to do that either. I mean, what route do you go down to get one of those books? Do you try and get someone to sell it privately to you through trade menus? Even though the whole point of the bazaar and the auction house is to mitigate that, you know, so people don't get scammed. I mean, it hasn't really affected me. Me personally, I've never really attempted to buy a Fatal Tempo 5 book, as you could probably imagine. But if I did want to buy one, then, well, even Fatal Tempo 3 or Fatal Tempo 2, I'd be having big issues. You'd have to massively overpay through the bazaar. Now, if those books were to be put on the auction house, that'd be making an exception, and it sort of kind of makes the hex pointless for those items, which obviously isn't good. I guess for some of the ultimate enchantments that were in really high demand and really high supply, sometimes it was difficult to actually buy, say for instance, an Ultimate Wise 1 book, because they were being bought up so quickly by people flipping them. But you could just scroll down a bit and buy one. I don't know. I personally think that, I mean, it's hard to know what's best because the hex is such a good addition. Having said that, I don't really know what the best solution is for it, but I think something should be done for those items because, like I said, not many people are gonna even try to buy them, but if they do, they're gonna have a hard time. I'll skim over the scrolls because I've talked about it so much. These items shouldn't be the price what they are, and that's the bottom line. You shouldn't have to pay more coins for your scrolls than your Necron Sandal. Full stop. People saying that the Hyperion is worth 1.5 billion, I'd probably agree with you, but it shouldn't be through these means. The Necron Sandal should be way higher in price, and these should be way lower. They're not supposed to be this high. And that is just simply an issue with the, I guess, the rarity of these items, the RNG meter in dungeons. It has messed things up, to put it quite simply. The solution is just to make it easy to get the scrolls. There we go. Once again, something I've talked about way too much recently is foraging and the lack of progression. Foraging, without any doubt or debate, is one of the main skills in the game, or it should be. Now, of course, one of the most important stats in the game is strength, and the higher foraging level you are, the more strength you have. If you have foraging 50, you will have significantly more base strength. So if this skill will give you a significant advantage to most aspects of the game, then how can it not be one of the most important skills and one of the main skills? So the lack of content for this whole island is just unbelievable. There's no armor set, there's 2 pets and an axe, and that is literally it. That is it. I know now that word has come out that there is going to be an update, just not really any time that soon, but at the same time it's relatively soon. So we're still not really any closer to knowing when or what. But this is something that's literally supposed to have happened for years, so I don't know. Just bring the update out, come on. I just think it's a little bit sad and it's a little bit disappointing, just purely because people will forage given some incentive. At the moment, what is the point in foraging? It is so... boring is not the word. Like, I don't have the vocabulary to sum up what this is. I'd rather watch paint dry. I think that pretty much sort of sums it up. On the topic of updates, I mean, this isn't a fix, but it's something that I'm sure we sort of should have seen and probably want to see to some capacity. How have we not got a tier 5 spider boss? And how have we not got a tier 5 Sven? I mean, judging off Tarantula and Sven, it is probably too early to call out the tier 5 Void Gloom, but, you know. I know for Sven and for Tarantula, Slayers 2.0 is supposed to have been coming out for years as well. Not really fix. It's just a little bit confusing to why it's not been brought out. The hype around, like, Sven Slayer and Tarantula Slayer, I mean, is pretty dead and has been for at least a year, if not definitely longer than a year. I mean, at least it gives us something to look forward to. Now, I'm sure that there's probably quite a lot more broken things in the game, and if you can think of any, then please let me know in the comments. If there are enough and you do enjoy the video, then I may make another video similar to this in the future, where a British person moans and complains about Skyblock. I mean, I still play the game pretty much every day, so it can't be that bad. But anyway, that just about wraps up today's video. I hope you all have enjoyed. If you have, make sure you do leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.